Okay, so in this last tutorial video, we're going to look at some of the filters and effects we can add to our images. And then we're going to look at how to save it, so we can access it later to edit. So, firstly, we have my completed little poster, but I want to add some filters to it to improve the look. So first, I'm going to click on my Captain America picture, and my layer. So, if I go to Image, there's a little section called Adjustments here, and we have loads of different options. So first, I'm going to start with brightness and contrast. So all this does is it just changes the brightness of your image. So it just adds more light to the image. The contrast changes how much this reflects. So if we put that at 100, it's reflecting all the light, so it's kind of become hard to see. So if I turn the contrast all the way down, it's starting to look a little bit more comic booky, isn't it? Like it's from a comic book. So I'm going to say I'm happy with that for now. Then I can go back to my image and change some more. So if I go to my Hue and Saturation, for example, I can change how these colours are affected. So, hue is the shades of colour that are in your image. So if I change the hue, it will change the shades of the colours that are in my image. So the more I upscale this, the more sort of brighter and effective they become. So it goes from pink and green to more like a yellowy cyan as it becomes brighter. Then as I go back down the hue scale, again it changes the sort of shades of the colour. So if I put that back to default, the saturation again is just removing the sort of light from the image. So if I put my saturation down to 0, it is a black and white image. If I put this up to full, it's added loads of light to my image. My saturation rate has gone up. So it kind of looks too bright and a bit too blocky. However, if I take this down a little bit, just so it's increased the brightness a little bit, again it's starting to look a little bit more comic booky. The final one in this section is lightness. This just changes how much light is added to your image and your pixels. So if I put this up to full, it changes all of my pixels to white, which I don't want. Then if I put it all the way back down, it changes them to black. So again, in this area, you're kind of going to want to hover in this little area here, between -20 and maybe +20. So it adds a little bit of light or removes a little bit of light, but not all of the way. So I'm going to say maybe -14 to make it a little bit more darker, and press OK. So again, image adjustments. You can do colour balance, which changes the sort of shades in your RGB, red, green, blue, which all images use, as you've probably learnt in art. So if I play with red, it adds more red pixels overall to my image, so it has a more sort of reddish look to it. If I take that away, all that's left is green and blue. So it looks like my image is overall made of much more green and blue colours, so it has that sort of shade to it. So if I put that up to normal, and then have a play with these, you can see if I remove the green, it's a lot more blue and red. If I put it all the way up to green, it has a lot more green shade to it. So again, you may want to sort of minimally play with these to enhance some colours over others. So again, add a little bit more effect to your character. Back to image and adjustments. There's one called black and white. You can have a play with these. This will just changes how bright each colour in your image is. But generally, if you just want your image to be black and white, click on that and click OK, and your image is now black and white. However, I don't want that, so I'm going to undo it using my history tool here. Finally, there's some options down here, sort of invert. So we can invert all the colours in my image. There are no options for this. It just inverts every colour in your image. You might want to do that, you might not. I don't want to at the minute. Finally, we can posterize, and then we can change the levels. But this doesn't look that great. So there are these tools you might want to use in different circumstances. Okay, so these are some of the adjustments you can make to your image. Now I'm going to show you how you can save and export and save as a PSD. So I've already showed you how to export as an image. So if we save it as a JPEG, and then you can just click save, and if we open that up, we have our saved image here. However, if I was to open a new project and click create, and then file, open and place, and then I choose this one, yes. So if I choose my image, you can see here that I've lost my layers. So if I wanted to edit Thanos or Captain America, I can no longer do that. So if you want to save your project so you can edit it in future, maybe if you get halfway through this and you need to save it and then access it later, we will go back to my Street View in the little tab here, which is my original image with my layers. I can then go to File and then Save as PSD. So you click on this and it will download it as a PSD. So if you go to your documents, you can see here it says Adobe After Effects Photoshop. You could rename this to Project, for example, and then put that in your documents. So if we wanted to then access that project, we can again go to File, New, File, Open, sorry, and then go to Project, where we can see here. So if I now click Open, we have Street and Project here, but it has retained the layers that I was using in my image. So we can open it up and play with the layers again. If I maybe wanted to move the position of the characters slightly, or change the position of the text, I could do that, and then export it as a JPEG. So saving as a PSD gives you those options to reopen your project and make alterations to it. Whereas if you save it and export it as a JPEG, it saves it as one solid image that you can still edit it, but you can no longer edit the individual layers. I could still, add maybe brush tools to it and type on it, but I still wouldn't be able to change those individual layers. So what I want you to do is I want you to create your final version of your poster with your 2 chosen characters. I want you to create a title for this image, and I want you to add some effects to your characters using image adjustments. I want you to maybe increase the brightness, the hue of the characters so they look a little bit more brighter. Try and change it so it looks a little bit more comic booky if you've gone for the superhero route. I will give you the images that I've used here in this tutorial. So I'll give you the Captain America and Thanos image and the Street View image. But again, if you want to choose your own 2 superheroes to use, you can do that. If you refer back to tutorial 3, where I showed you how to find good images and how to edit and change the backgrounds, you can go back and view those again. But when you've finished that, I want you to save your image as both a JPEG and a PSD. So we can, again, if you want to make changes, edit that. Okay? So this has been a tutorial series on how to use Photopea. I hope you've learned something. And have a go with it, play with it, see what images you can create with it. Okay, thank you.